there were two parts that I wanted to share briefly with you. The first is that things in life don't always work out as we want them to work out, or as we hope that they will pan out. But if you trust God in all things, he really will take you on a life journey that's full of surprises. Some things that you never ever thought you would be able to do. And that certainly happened in my life. And the other part that I will mention briefly is that about trusting God. So because he does give us the capacity to cope with whatever life throws at us. And it's not always easy, but there is that strength that he gives us to so that we can feel supported and not alone. So if we take the first one about you know life's journey, you never quite know how life's going to pan out. From when I was about 13 years old, the only thing I ever wanted to be was a member of Parliament, with the hope of maybe one day being the first woman Prime Minister.
Oh,
well, you
wow.
see, Margaret Thatcher beat me to that.
Wow.
But she came to our speech day at school, and I was only about 13 or 12 when she was the Minister for Education. And if you take away the politics and whatever, as a woman in politics, she was amazing. The things that she stood for, the way she, as a leader. I mean, I know she went a bit awry towards the end of her time as a Prime Minister, but it was, you know, she was somebody that, you know, we hadn't really seen in British politics, especially a woman like that. So that really inspired me. And then eventually I went to university, and I went to Durham. And my choice of university really wasn't because Laurie was at York, and it was only an hour down the road, really, on the train. But actually, that was really one of the reasons. And so I went to university, and then eventually I went into teaching. My father felt very strongly, and I do agree with him, that politicians should not be career politicians, that politicians should be people who have had a career or a life outside of politics, and that's what they bring in to being a member of Parliament. So I was always brought up with that sort of ethos, really. And eventually I started teacher training, and goodness knows why I was doing it, because I just thought, I just hate this. I don't know why I'm doing this year. When I go into schools, I'm going to hate it. But my goodness me, God knew exactly what he was doing, because I did my first teaching practice in a mining village colliery in County Durham. I couldn't understand the kids. They couldn't understand me. And I had a wonderful, wonderful teaching practice. Then went on to Gateshead, did another teaching practice there, and finished in Hartlepool, my final teaching practice. And it was just amazing. I loved it. And I just knew that that is what God wanted me to do in the next phase of my life. So that was something that was really quite unexpected, that I was pushed into quite unexpectedly, really. So my career then started, and eventually I became a head teacher, because that's what I really wanted to do. That was my aspiration. And it was my dream job. I loved every minute of it. It was jolly hard work. I worked all the hours God sent, but I loved it because I was supporting my children, my team who I was working with, and the parents and the wider community. Because nobody fights for your school, only you, and you put that first, and you do all you can to fight for all the people that are part of that school. And I loved it. And then about 18 years went by, and eventually we had a baby. That took a long time, as you can see. And eventually it happened, a few miscarriages along the way. But eventually we had Sam. And again, you know, I was still working, and it was great that we got a baby, which we probably thought we never would have. And it was about 6. And I really felt God saying to me in a very powerful way, not in a big, loud voice, but deep within my heart, I heard him say, yeah, you know, you're loving your job, but what are you giving to your son? I had a wonderful family life as a child. My sister and I were really blessed with my parents. We had such fun, but I wasn't giving anything back to Sam. Laurie was the main carer, and at that point as well, my parents were both very ill. So I was having to give my time to my mum and dad, and Sam I probably saw at the weekends, and Laurie was doing everything. Sam never came to me for anything. And I thought and prayed about this, and I really knew that God was trying to encourage me to stop. Now, how can you stop doing a job that is your life and you love and you eat and breathe it? Well, Laurie and lots of friends said, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. But I just really felt it was the right thing. So as a result then, I gave up my job, and I just thought, well, I'm sure there will be plans. Those verses in Jeremiah that tell you that there is a plan for your life. But it was priority for me to spend some time with Sam and getting to know him and better. And it was, for me, it was a real blessing. I don't think it really was for him, because I'm really not the best. My parenting skills are not wonderful. But, I did try my best. But the amazing thing in all of this, and if we think back to wanting to be a politician, when I'd finished, I was offered a part-time job as a school advisor. I then began to work for the local authority with the councillors devising policies for schools. I then I did some headships, part-time headships for schools that were in special measures. So I was dealing with HMI and trying to fight their corner and develop the staff, which I found I loved. And then I was offered a job as the General Secretary for the National Association of Head Teachers, and my area was Birmingham. And that was amazing because, again, I was working with the council, I was working with councillors, I was working with staff, I was supporting staff that had done naughty things like cheating in SATs and all those sorts of things, the sorts of things that you don't condone, but people think they're going to get you off. Well, I'm sorry, you don't get off, but I will support you through the process of being prosecuted. But so it was all very exciting, very varied. And then I was offered some work to work for the DFE, Department for Education, and I did some advisory work for them, and then I worked with some MPs down in Westminster and did all sorts of work with them. And all this happened as a result of giving up my passion, which was my head teacher's job. And yet God provided other things, which there is no way I would have ever worked for the DFE or anything like that had I done it myself. But there were all these opportunities that God put before me and pushed me into and gave me the courage to have a go, like some of the tips we've been saying about take risks, have a go at doing it. And for me, it was just amazing. And it fulfilled my home life. I think I became a slightly better mother as a result. But I also had lots of opportunities that God put before me, which looking back now, I'm so very grateful that he did that. So that's just one journey that literally full of surprises.